Here at the Digital News Desk with Mayor Sarah Pierce to tell us about the City Council meeting tonight, July 7th. Public hearing, that's one of the things we'll talk about here in terms of residency and who should live in the city and what positions they hold with the City of Watertown. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Good to see you. The public hearing tonight, 7:15. The meeting starts at 7. You stop at 7:15 for the public hearing. Explain to folks what will be talked about and what's allowed at the public hearing.
Sure. So this is going to be a public hearing on a local law that Council is contemplating passing regarding residency in the city for city department heads. As people may recall, it was brought to our attention that under New York State law, there are a number of different positions that are considered officers of the city and as such are required to live within the municipality. Council has had some discussion about this over the course of the past several months. The departments that would be affected currently would be the engineering, DPW, and then of course the city manager. So essentially what this local law would do would exempt those three individuals in those positions from having to abide by that requirement. And as you said, there'll be a public hearing at 7:15. People who are interested in weighing in on this can come to the public hearing and speak their mind. And
you've heard from people already. Not everything comes out at a public hearing because not everybody will attend, right?
Right.
So you've heard from people. Is there an overwhelming opinion from folks in the city on this?
I would say I've heard from people on both sides of the issue. This is, of course, I think a unique situation with our city manager who, as people will know, had a long career with the military, with Fort Drum, and lives just outside the city. So I think that has created a bit of a different dynamic here. But the other two positions, as I mentioned, DPW and engineering, those two individuals, when they were hired, were not it wasn't part of their employment, a condition of their employment to move in the city. So that, again, a little bit of a different situation there.
Mm-hmm. Top line, why is it important? Why do you think that law exists to have the people that are running the city live in the city?
Well, I think that the law likely exists because you want the people who are in those positions of leadership within the city to have that vested interest. Not to say that the people who are in those positions currently don't. I definitely think they do. I definitely think those three individuals do an awesome job and have definitely moved the city forward. But I think the intent of this is so that the people in those leadership positions can be closer to the decisions that they make that impact the residents.
And if there's an emergency, then they're there quicker? Is that sort of?
I think that's probably part of it. We did hear from our former fire chief a couple meetings ago who came and spoke about how he, when he took the position, was expected to move into the city for just that reason, that he'd be there more quickly to respond if there was an emergency and manage his department, which I think there is a lot of merit to that. I do think that also things have changed as the years have gone by since that law was first enacted. Certainly technology has changed, it's become easier to communicate, but I think there is value to having people in those positions that would be required to respond in the event of an emergency be there as quickly as possible.
When it comes to the current city manager and living just outside the city of Watertown, the previous city manager, Ken Mix, also lived just outside the city of Watertown, but he had to establish a residence in the city. Ken Mix was on a champion-ish, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. He did.
So not much difference.
He did do that to comply with the requirement, and I think that's one of the things that has been suggested for the current situation, and we'll see what happens there.
What is the feeling on council right now? 5 members, and you're voting. The voting tonight on this will have the 5 votes. But if the council votes in favor of this, it would relinquish that
Basically
point of it, it would exempt. Good word. So would allow them to live outside the city. What are you hearing from your other council members? You don't want to speak for them. I get that.
I don't want to speak
but you
for
know,
them.
you know
I
the
haven't
feel.
talked to them directly.
Okay.
I do think there's people on both sides of the issue on council for sure. So we'll hear more during the debate tonight.
And so this will be decided tonight because not only the public hearing, but then it's tabled, and you have to take this up right after. If you're reading an agenda, things that are tabled have to be brought off the table in the next meeting. Accurate?
No, I don't think it wasn't tabled. It's just appearing on the agenda now.
Oh, the other one's tabled. I'm misreading this.
Yes.
So it is something that you're bringing back up. Okay, the other one,
The rules of
change,
council
the
were tabled,
rules of council
yes.
was tabled. That's what I was saying. So anyway, we expect a decision on this tonight then?
I would
think?
anticipate so, unless there's any further discussion about amending the law, local law, in any way.
And this will open up probably a larger conversation because, as you mentioned, the former fire chief, Dale Herman, brought it to your attention, council's attention, public's attention, that he had to move in. But right now, those are two other positions where the leaders, police chief and fire chief, don't have to live in the city of Watertown?
Correct. They're not required to live in the city of Watertown. And I do think, as you said, this has the potential to open up a bigger conversation of what position should be residing in the city. Again, with a lot of these positions, or with the two positions that we're discussing tonight, the engineer and DPW, not a condition of their employment at the outset. So if it wasn't a condition of somebody's employment at the outset, you don't want to go back and say, hey, you have to live in the city now. At least that's my point of view. But it's something that could change moving forward for the next person in that position, certainly. The other argument that I've heard is that, especially with the city manager, it's a 2-year contract. So to ask somebody to uproot their lives, in a sense, and move somewhere else for 2 years is a bit of a commitment. So maybe there's a discussion that could be had about extending the contract, that sort of thing, to make it more palatable to people in the future.
So the police chief, fire chief don't live in the city now. There wouldn't be a change because, as you just said, it wouldn't be fair to, if that wasn't part of the employment plan at the beginning, not to do that.
I mean, my point of view, and I don't know also from a legal standpoint, that if
Sure.
they've signed, a contract for employment and that wasn't a condition of their employment at the outset, I don't think that you could go back and say,
But that could be the discussion coming up.
Could be a discussion
Yeah.
moving forward, because certainly I think those two individuals, they do a great job for the city, but they obviously won't be there forever. We'll have another police chief, fire chief in the future, and that could be part of the discussion that, you have to live in the city if you're in those positions.
Yeah. Even to employees, too. Some cities, I think if you're a police officer or a firefighter, I think there are residency requirements.
I think so.
Yeah,
Correct,
and the Watertown doesn't have that.
No, we do not.
Um,
That'd have to be something negotiated with the
True, because
unions.
unionized. But what's the incentive there? Do you think of? Is it just to live in the place where you're working, but you're a public employee? Is that any thought?
I mean, I think, well, certainly the incentive from the city side is obviously you have all of your emergency responders in close proximity in case anything were to go wrong. So that's, of course, from the city side. The incentive for the people in those positions, I think, would be, you're that much closer to where you work. You get to be out and about amongst the people you're serving every day. So I think, the incentive can be felt on both sides.
And so, did I ask you how you're going to vote tonight on the residency requirement?
You didn't ask me outright, but I would say
I'll
that
ask
I am, continuing to listen to the public. I've still got people reaching out to me today. I'm curious to see how many people show up at the public hearing, what people have to say, but I'm certainly listening to the constituents.
And leaning one way or the other?
I would say, I think I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. And I think the public is aligned with me on this. I'm less concerned about the people who are in those positions who weren't told that it was a condition of their employment. Engineer and DPW, again, when they took those positions, they were not expected to move into the city. I think there's more of an argument to be made for having the city manager fulfill that requirement, which could be done, as you said, as Ken Mix did, by having a second residence in the city, that sort of thing. So I would say I think that that's the side that most of the public is on, or most of the public has concerns with. But it's certainly, as I said, going to be a discussion to be had amongst my colleagues tonight, and to listen to what people have to say during the public hearing.
And final question, after the primary, I'll ask you quickly, it looks like that you'll have new people on city council. Is that difficult to lose some people that have experience on council and to be fresh, because you'll be more senior
Sure.
on that council as mayor?
I mean, I think I look at it as a positive thing. We're going to have, obviously, given the primary results, 2 individuals who are new to city government in those seats, and I think that hopefully they'll bring some fresh ideas and perspective. As you said, I've got a number of years of experience on the council, and I think the other individuals who will remain on council, Dr. Kimball, Councilmember Schoen, they're certainly people who have paid close attention to city government in recent years, and people who came into those positions with unique sets of skills and experience. So I think we'll have a good mix however it ends up.
All right. Meeting tonight, 7 o'clock, public hearing at 7:15 on that residency requirement. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.